Today we are going to talk about stuff. But first, let me remind you where are we in the macro picture. So we are making a huge detour into evolution, into the history of epistemology, which means the human quest to understand the tenets of knowledge. How can we know that we know what we think we know? And we are doing that because I think that the more we know about the context of the big picture within which scientific ideas were proposed, the better we understand the realm to which each one of them belongs, what it can answer, what it cannot answer. So we talked about a sentence that we'll all the time revisit until we understand all its 6 parts. Any piece of knowledge is a tentative ad hoc narrative that is consciously or unconsciously adopted in order to make sense of the universe we live within. No narrative is fundamentally true, but many of them are useful for something. Okay, I also told you that we will understand the sentence that every time that we feel that we have an answer for something, it's time to ask a better question. And also I claim that there is a trade-off between adopting a useful narrative and restraining ourselves to finding a better narrative, to understanding things better. Everything will come back. Now, today we'll continue with Darwin, with the theory of evolution. We'll reinforce things that we already talked about. I am changing the plan according to the feedback I'm receiving from you guys. So keep on giving me feedback. You are telling me you're interested. If I'm waiting for less positive feedbacks. We probably, because it's getting longer and there are some things from this intro, from this detour that I will have to take out, I think that what will happen that we'll continue with this and we'll start to get in parallel, we'll also start to get into the proper syllabus of this course. Let's see what happens. So let's review what we learned so far about evolution. First of all, we learned that mutations are completely random, which means that they can change to any direction, to infinite options, which also mean that we cannot predict them. We cannot predict the changes that will happen. So I proposed that the universe can be described as random things happening all the time, randomly resulting in a new universe every new moment. Which means that any given moment in time is a result of everything that happened before. I know this sentence sounds out of context and vague, but we'll come back to the sentence afterwards in a different context. So let's see just if it makes sense. Any given moment in time is a consequence of everything that happened before. All right. Second thing that we learned about evolution. That evolution is not progress, is not improvement, is not an active force pushing towards something. There is no a priori guiding principle behind evolution. Therefore, evolution is only a hindsight description of what has already happened. Okay. So it's a completely passive process that result from random events that we cannot predict. All right. Number 4, there is no selection, because there is nothing selecting anything. There is no a priori master plan for selection. All right. Number 5, every phylogenetic change begins with a ontogenetic change. That is, remember, phylogenetic are things that happen to the species, ontogenetic to one individual. So any change to a species begins only with one change in one individual. So there is no collective species process. There are only things that happen in one individual, and they continue or not to the children and grandchildren of that individual. So now we will continue to talk about all that stuff, because I want to widen the connections of those ideas. I want to reinforce them. I want to enrich the you got it. And on the way, we will also understand better our attraction to metaphysics and the situations in which we unwittingly adopt metaphysic representations, and we end up unconsciously adopting explanations that have no yes. So let's revisit the idea that I have claimed that there is no improvement in evolution. There is no progress. So I'm not convinced that I fully convinced you that there isn't. Because there are a lot of situations that we look at the world and we say, ah, come on, it cannot be. There must be something there. And I'm sure also that while I was telling you that there is no progress, there is no better, you thought about things that you compare to the past, and you said, no, today it's better. I don't accept it, that there was no improvement. When I think about the world in the Middle Ages, in the Dark Ages, there are things that are better today. So assuming that what we think that we know about the past is true, it's hard to say that there isn't improvement. Okay, so I'll first talk about the first situation in which we are overwhelmed, and then we'll talk about the comparison to the past later on. So when we look, we observe nature and we see the wonders, we see the birds of paradise, and we say, come on, there must be something behind it. It cannot be that by chance these beautiful things exist. There must be something, I don't know, magical or okay, maybe, but if there is something that we don't understand, then we really don't understand. All right. Now, another situation that we find ourselves is when we are overwhelmed with things that happen to us in our private life. And the only way emotionally that we can we can solve it, that we can organize reality, that we can make sense of things that happen to us, we resort to that old phrase, things must happen for a reason. Now, it's usually when bad things happen. When good things happen, we say we were lucky or we did the right thing. But when bad things happen and we feel that we are victim of something that we had no control, then we resort to things happen for a reason, or shit happens for a reason. I'll come back to this point later, to our why we are so threatened to feel like a victim, powerless. Okay. All right. So first, I'll start with two explanations, two stories, two situations when we look at what happened and we say, there must be something there. It cannot be by chance. The first situation is a true story. It's not only a true story, it's a story that happens all the time. It's a recurrent true story. It goes like this. Let's say you're not a big fan of football, but you watch football because your friends watch football in your family, whatever. So NFL, football, National Football League, the season lasts 17 weeks, all right? Let's say that 10 weeks, in the middle of the season, there had been already 7 weeks, 10 weeks before the Super Bowl, how it goes, like every Sunday, the famous Sunday night football, every Sunday there is a big game. Many games happen, but there is one, the most, whatever, ESPN decides is the most important one. So let's say that Sunday morning you receive a letter under your door, a written one, a physical letter. And you open the letter, it reads like this. Hi, I am a football enthusiast, and I am also a PhD student in mathematics and computer science, and I have been building it for years, and now I have a model, machine learning model that I perfected, and at this point of the season, my model is achieving perfect predictions. Okay. The game tonight, this will be the result. Not the result in numbers, but who will win. Okay? 2 teams. This team will win. Okay, you read the letter, whatever. Funny, strange. You throw it away. Game finishes. The letter was right. All right. Next Sunday, again. Same letter. Before the game, obviously. Hi, it's me again. My model predicts that this team will win. So, well, this person wants from me. All right, throw it away. You're already curious. Well, write again. 3rd week, again a letter. You don't throw it away. You put it aside. You watch the game, again write. 4th week, 5th week. 6th week, you are already like, what's going on? Like this, why am I receiving these letters? And then you start to really, you're getting curious to know, and every time the letter is right. It's predicting the right result, the right winner, not the numbers. All right. And then the Super Bowl. You have been receiving every week for 9 weeks, you have been receiving an anonymous, strange letter saying who will win, and it has been predicting right, the winner. And then your friends bet, put money on who will win the Super Bowl. You have been receiving 9 weeks in a row, everything was right. You even go and you calculate what are the odds of the right prediction. So it's one game is half, right? One of two options. So the probability of predicting it right, of guessing it right, is half. 2 games in a row would be half times half. 3, half, okay. 9 games in a row will be 1 in 1,000. You say, it cannot be by chance. Okay, so you know what? Would you put money on a bet? Would you bet on the prediction of that letter? Probably. Most people would. All right. So the real story, the real recurrent story, is not people like you that receive this letter. In the real story, this letter arrives to someone that is a frequent bettor, a gambler, someone that frequently bets on football. So since the first letter, the person is already like, that's strange, that's interesting, all right. After 3-4 weeks of this very strange letter, the person is getting crazy, but the person is a bettor, so he starts to bet. I'm saying he. I'll continue with he. He starts to bet with according to the letter, and it works, and he's making money every week, 1 week after the other. The guy is getting crazy, like internet, and he talks to friends, and he learns that actually nowadays with machine learning, people are able to predict things that sound crazy. And fact is that the bets are working, the predictions are working. This guy is making money. And he continues to bet, and he doesn't understand what's going on. All right. And then, 2 weeks before the Super Bowl, there are 2 games left, okay? Already 8 weeks of correct predictions. The guy already made money of that. So, a few days before before the last game, someone knocks on the door. Hi, it's me. It's me that was sending the letters. Oh, hi. Wow. Why are you sending to me? I'll tell you why. Because I wanted to prove to you that my model works. And my model, it's a fact. You know it. It works. So I have here the results, the predicted results by my model of the last 2 games. I'm willing to sell it to you. Well, the guy is already making money. The guy is a bettor. The last 2 games, when you bet 2 games up front, you can bet for much more odds, for much better odds. You can make a lot of money if you predict correct the last 2 games of the season. Just for you to understand, according to ESPN, college football per year for under-the-table bets runs something like $95 billion per year. That's only illegal betting for college football. So betting on the right result of the two last games, you can make a lot of money. All right. So the guy, so the guy offers like a good, a valuable thing. All right. How much? I'll sell you for $50,000. I said, well, $50,000. If I bet like this already, you know what? I'll buy it for 25 grand. All right, but in cash. Okay. They go together to the ATM, I don't know, whatever. The guy gives the predictor the money, gives him a letter, and he never sees the guy again. Okay, now, before I continue with the rest of the story, let me explain you what is going on here. So it's a scam. It's a scam. It's a total scam. The PhD student is obviously not a PhD student. He's not. Everybody is male here in my story, because women are better than that. No. Okay. So the guy doesn't know mathematics. He didn't finish high school. He doesn't know a thing about football. What did he do? So the only complicated thing that our scammer did was to compile a list of 1,024 people that bet frequently on football. 1,024 gamblers. How did he find this list? I don't know. He's a scammer. He bought it from a hacker. He bribed people that work in betting houses. It doesn't matter. He compiled this list. So, 10 weeks before the Super Bowl, he took these 1,024 people, divided in two groups, and wrote the same letter, two versions of the letter. So to 512 gamblers, he wrote that on this coming Sunday, 10 weeks before the Super Bowl, on this coming Sunday, this team will win, and to the other 512, the other team will win. Okay, Sunday night, one of the teams won. So he had 512 people that got the wrong prediction. Those never heard from him again. And 512 that got the right prediction. Next week, he took these 512, divided in two again. To 256, he wrote that this team will win this coming Sunday. And to the other 256, that the other team will win. After the game, he has 256 people that got the first letter right, the second letter wrong. Those never heard from him again. And 256 people that got two letters right. Next week, 128, 128, and on. So 6 weeks before the Super Bowl, he has 64 people. 5 weeks before, he has 32 people, etc. 2 weeks before the Super Bowl, he has 4 gamblers that received 8 weeks in a row of correct predictions. He goes, he sells his prediction for the last 2 games for, let's say, $25,000 each. So he made, let's say, I don't know how much the list of 1,024 people cost, but he made, so minus that, he made $100,000 by nothing work. It's a good scheme. Now, let's say that this guy, so whatever he wrote in the the last two predictions for these 4 gamblers, it doesn't matter. He disappeared obviously afterwards, but let's say he's a proud scammer. He has professional integrity, so he gave each one of them one of the 4 options. So 3 of them got the wrong predictions. They lost money. They probably, not only the $25,000, well, they made the money on the way in the weeks before, but they bet on the wrong result in the, okay. But one of these guys, by chance, received the correct prediction. And he made a lot of money in his bet. Now this guy, until today, is absolutely convinced that the scammer had a system, that the scammer knew. Now, you know, this is criminal, right? So it's not the kind of things that you tell other people. So until today, he's convinced that he had a winner machine learning model. Or maybe he concluded that that the NFL is rigged, and this guy just told a story about the machine learning model, but actually he had internal information about the scheme, and he sold the information to him. Or maybe he even concluded that, I don't know, that God sent an angel. It doesn't matter. This guy, until today, is convinced that there is an explanation for what happened. Remember, when we don't understand, it doesn't mean that there is something to be understood. Now, we, humanity, when we look at everything that happened until today, and we say, it cannot be by chance, there must be some explanation, there must be something above, prior, something organizing. We are this last scammed better, the winner one. This guy is not aware of the 1023 other scammed that got the wrong letters. We are not aware of all the other possible versions of the universe that could have happened instead of this one. Now, all the other alternative possibilities of what could have happened to the universe is, as we already understood, infinite. Now you tell me, is this version of the universe the best one? No, how can it be? By sheer logic. If the other possibilities, the other versions are infinite, then however you define good and bad, there are infinite possible versions of the universe that are worse than this current version, and by the same logic, there are infinite better alternative versions of the universe that are better than this one. Okay, second situation that we find ourselves saying that no, there must be an explanation. Prophecy. Choose your prophet. Let's say Nostradamus. I don't know nothing about it. It doesn't matter. Let's say that those that claim that he everything, Hitler, everything that he predicted is true. Let's say that he really got things on the. So people read this stuff and say, come on, there must be an explanation. It's impossible for someone to predict 500, 600, I don't know when it was, all these things. Just like our last scammed, the correct one, was not aware of the other 1023 that got the wrong decision, when we read this guy predicted, the prophet predicted, we are not aware of all the people that have predicted other stuff. Now, since ever, humans have been predicting stuff. Since people know how to write, they have been writing predictions. Someone, somewhere, got it right. By chance, whenever Nostradamus predicted whatever he predicted, he knew exactly what other people knew. But he, by chance, predicted things. Someone must have predicted things that end up being right. So again, the fact that we are mesmerized by things that in hindsight we say, it cannot be by chance, doesn't mean that it was not. It also doesn't mean that he didn't know. Maybe it was not by chance. Maybe Nostradamus did know something that we don't understand. But then we don't understand. As long as we have no reason to believe, to accept, to adopt an explanation, again, we shall not. Let me be really annoying, and I promise I won't do it again. It's like this. I've been talking about infinite all the time. I think that infinite is, I don't know if the only one I know, concept that we cannot grasp. It's automatic short circuit in our brain understanding, whatever. It goes like this. Think about infinite, what infinite means. So if you close your eyes and you think about infinite, so the representation you have is space, is the universe, right? You enter your little spaceship and maximum speed, and you drive straight ahead, and it never ends. It never ends. Okay. Now, if the universe is infinite, it means that it includes all possibilities. All possibilities of what? All possibilities of anything. All right? So, anything that I can think of is a possibility? Yes, so it must exist by logic. Okay. So I can think about another planet Earth exactly like this one that exists. So by logic, it exists somewhere out there. Exactly this. Not only this, like me right now, there somewhere, doing exactly this. Not only that. If it's infinite, there are infinite Ricardos doing like this right now. Wait, there are also Ricardos 1 second in the future from now. There are infinite versions of us in every moment in the past and every moment in the future, and each one of them infinite copies. that's very annoying. So when the first representation we have of infinite, we already got rid of space because it never ends. Space already crumbles. What I describe now, we also disassembled time. There is no... Okay. You tell me, stop there. This is bullshit, Ricardo. Come back to Earth. All right, okay. You don't want infinite? Be my guest. So the universe ends somewhere, or sometime, or somewhere, I don't know. Okay, so it ends, and then what? What does end mean? It ends white, nothing. What is nothing? That's it. Short circuit. And I promise that from now on I am not going there anymore. I'll stay here with us. All right. Sorry. Coming back to Earth, more and more. I will not, and I'll do it fast, but gradually. Let's begin with the miracle of life. Maybe there was a miracle of life, but I don't understand it. So I'll stick to the explanation that I do understand. The explanation that there is no explanation. That is that it happened by chance. So there were, you know the story. There were a lot of atoms and stuff and energy, and then things happen like in the bowl, and then some of them started to get stick together, and then by chance some molecules one day got a, I don't know, zap in the brain, and they started to duplicate. And they started to duplicate. And then the Earth started to get filled with those, because they duplicated, the others didn't duplicate. So those are those that stayed. Okay. The principle of survival and procreation. The basic principle of the force of nature, any organism is written by nothing. Those endless organisms didn't care about surviving. They didn't survive. Those that survived, survived. Those that didn't care about procreating, they didn't. Those that procreated, procreated. We are the sons and daughters of those that for some reason felt like procreating. It's not a principle. It's just what happened. Why do mutations occur? Was it written? No. There were those that their cells were, yeke, like, never mind. Those that the system was perfect, they didn't mutate, there were no mutations. The word changed, they didn't adapt, they don't exist anymore. Those that exist are those that had mutations. There were many that had too many mutations. They were not stable, suddenly a nose in the forehead. They also don't exist. So in the end, those that exist today are those that had the rate of mutation that made them exist, survive. That's it. What about collective instincts? What about those behaviors that we observe and we say, the individuals, they are sacrificing themselves for the species. But I said that everything is ontogenetic, there is nothing phylogenetic. Phylogenetic is a consequence of ontogeneticity. Okay, so what about, let's say, lemurs? Lemurs, you know, they like to jump from the cliff together. Whenever they are overpopulated in an area, they say, oh, all right, let's you come with me. We are going to commit suicide from the cliff. Well, obviously they don't. So what biologists tell us is that they go, when there is overpopulation, they start to look for new areas where there is food for everybody. So why do they do it together? Like, there is something collective, like why not each one of them go by itself to look for a new area? Well, they do, but those that go alone, by the way, why they jump from cliffs? Because they swim to other islands or other, many die on the way, but they don't mean to die on the way. They die on the way. So why they do it together? Nothing. Many do it alone, but those that do it alone live happily ever after. They find a new island all for itself, but then it doesn't procreate. It dies happily, alone, maybe with but those that for some reason go together, they arrive to a new place, so they procreate. So the lemurs that we have today are those that for some reason, maybe it's the cowards one. They don't feel like going alone. So, okay. What about, let's say, black widows? Black widows, so the male, some species of black widows, the male, the female, which is much bigger, she eats the male after having sex. So why do the males agree to that? Well, they don't agree to that. It happens to them. All right, and then you go and check on the internet, you see that what many of them do is that after they procreate, they go and put themselves inside the mouth of the female, like they offer themselves to be eaten. Well, those are the dumb ones. The smart ones don't do it. But what happened to the smart ones is that the female, after having sex, she doesn't have anything to eat. So those females that had sex with the smart ones, they have less children. And so by the end of the day, the black widows that remain are the sons and daughters of the dumb males. Or together with them, maybe the female has some, I don't know, something in her mouth that causes the male to come, and he thinks that there is something interesting, and then he put it, and then she eats. Okay, whatever is the mechanism, it's not because the male is offering himself for the good of the species. It's because that's what happened. The black widows that exist today are the sons of those that this happened. One of the last times that I'll talk about no improvement. We look at evolution and we say improvement, not improvement. All right. When we say improvement, it's improvement, progress for whom? For the individual, for a group of individuals, for the species, for the ecosystem, for the planet? There is no answer to that. Remember in the bowl, why should Mother Nature improve the situation of one species but make it worse or even erases another species? There is no answer to that. Technically, if we think about it, for all organisms, not to mention the black widow, but for all organisms, having children is not a good idea. When you procreate, you have to feed those little puppies. You have to protect them. You have less time for yourself. You have less food for yourself. You put yourself in danger. Objectively, technically, it's for the individual itself, it's better to not have children. Okay? The planet. Global warming. Is it good? I don't know. We don't like it because the story you were telling. No, I am against it. I like snow. No, but okay, we feel that we are doing something to the planet, no good, and the water is dry. We have many, but the lobsters are loving it. Not kidding, because the water, the coast waters, especially in the northeast, they are getting warmer. The lobsters are parting. The polar bears are not. There are species that are escaping extinction because of global warming. So what's the improvement here? For whom? Where? There is no answer to that. It's not. We are almost finishing with this part of the evolution. Even I am already getting tired of this. But let me close some loose ends. First of all, why do we have soft nails? By now we know, because either claws became a disadvantage and the mutations that made the claws disappeared by chance made these soft nails, despite they brought no advantage, or the soft nails did bring some advantage, and that's why we have it. So it's not because we stopped using claws. Why don't we have wings? Well, because it just didn't happen. I suppose that in the history of humanity we had some monkeys with feathers on their backs, but it went nowhere. Maybe because there were no additional mutations that made them grow to become wings, or the feathers became a disadvantage. I would guess that if today you have a feather on your back, it would be a disadvantage. We are wrapping up. Let's go back to our sentence that any piece of knowledge is a tentative ad hoc narrative that we consciously or unconsciously adopt in order to make sense of the universe. No narrative is fundamentally true, but many of them are useful for something. Okay, so today we better understood the part of unconsciously adoption of metaphysics, why we are attracted, why we need to organize the universe in something that makes sense, which is in order to make sense of the universe. Is metaphysics knowledge? Yes, of course, like any other piece of knowledge. But I hope I am more and more convincing you that it's a not useful knowledge. I still haven't explained why it is harmful. I will. But I think I repeated myself enough for you to understand that a metaphysical construct is any metaphysical construct we don't understand. So we have the alternative to adopt something that we do understand, that is not metaphysical, which is, so far, things happened randomly by chance. What did we learn today? So today, I'll even take my glasses off. Today, we learned better that despite our need, our emotional need to find order in the universe, we can explain everything with the concepts, with the notions of randomness and passiveness. We don't need metaphysics. We don't need order in the universe. It's such a great story. It brings comfort to the heart. Everything can be explained. We can explain the genesis of life. We can explain phylogenetics, ontogenetics. Next lecture we'll see that it can explain our personality, society, our emotions, our choices, our decisions, everything we can explain with randomness and passiveness, with the idea that with the theory, with my interpretation of the theory of evolution. When I say my interpretation, I mean that that the theory of evolution, randomness and passiveness, is the opposite from Mother Nature, from the forces of nature. Now, I suppose many agree with me. I'm sure that many don't. I know that I think that Darwin wouldn't agree with me. Darwin was a religious man. He was divided on those questions. So he did interpret religion as a strategy for survival, but he did believe in God, and he did believe that God gave order to the universe. He was really worried about good and evil. But others agree with me. For instance, let me quote Karl Popper. He said, I'm quoting, "I have come to the conclusion that Darwinism is not a testable scientific theory, but a metaphysical research program." Okay, when we get there, we will understand. But I told you in the beginning that by the end of the Darwin story, I'll tell you that the theory of evolution is not a theory. And it's not a theory because it cannot predict anything. So we don't have hypotheses from this theory. And the second problem is that it can explain everything. There is nothing it cannot explain. And when we get to Popper, we will understand better why these two factors are a problem for a theory. Now, so why am I talking so much about it? Exactly because the idea of randomness and passiveness releases us from the need to use metaphysics. We don't need an order to explain whatever we want. It's not scientific, but it's useful. Next lecture, I will talk about those things. I will extrapolate and explain and suggest how a lack of order can serve us to understand all the things I said before: society, ourselves, personality, etc. One last thing. I am, as I said before, I am continuing to talk about it because of the feedback I'm receiving from you guys. I'm receiving a lot of positive feedback. Many people want to hear more and are interested and everything. Now, as much as my mother thinks that I am wonderful, it doesn't make sense. I suppose that many of you are enjoying less or have suggestions for improvement, let's put it this way. Please talk to me, please let me know, directly or through the Anonymous platform. It's good for you, it's good for me. Okay?